Hey guys, what's up? We are taking a look at the ASVAB and gonna do a little practice test. So this one's going to be for arithmetic reasoning. So before we hop in here, kind of the idea is to help you out some with just the thought process that you go to in terms of answering these questions, and also the ability to eliminate bad answers. So just being able to do those two things will help you out like quite a bit, especially for those who, and I know there's a lot of you out there who just say like, I hate math, I can't do math, all this stuff. So just getting to the point of like, it's not even the pencil and paper and calculating and crunching numbers, just understanding what they're asking, how to eliminate some bad answers. A lot of times we can get it down to two answers before we've really even done any math. And so we'll show you some examples here. Okay, so there's 20 questions in this, and at the end they'll give us all the answers. So we'll see how we do. Okay, Joe's Restaurant. 1/4 of the patrons are male. 1/5 are from out of town. What proportion would you expect to be male and out of town? Okay, so that's the key word there is proportion, right? And so they give you two fractions, and then they're asking for like a combination, like you're combining these two numbers together. That always means multiply them together. Okay, so you're just doing 1/4 times 1/5. 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 5 is 20. 1/20th. That's our answer. All right, that one wasn't too bad. 112 males, 178 females working at a hospital. What percentage of the hospital's workforce is female? Okay, so so you're adding 112 and 78 together, so you get 190. And so then we have 78 over 190. Okay, so kind of thinking, it's like, for me, like I really hate to do a lot of like tedious math work, partly because you can make mistakes easily. Um, but if you're looking at 78 over 190, like what number is that sort of similar to? Like, I would say 80, rounding 78 up to 80, and then if 190, if we round that up to 200. This is not going to be exactly right, but 80 over 200 is the same as 40 over 100, which is 40%. Okay, so that's not exactly right, but just in doing that is we should have eliminated a few of these answers, right? Like 22%, 32%, even 38%, like almost for sure. And 78% we know is wrong, right? So it's 78 over 100 is 78%, right? So 78 over 190 is going to be, significantly less than 78%. Like almost for sure here we're at 41%. Obviously, on the actual test is you are going to go ahead and do the math, but doing this first should help to eliminate a few answers and give us kind of a sense of where we are, right? And so it can happen, unfortunately, where uh, you do the math and you can't even get it to be any of the answer choices or something like that. So in this case, guessing is your best chance, but the way we did it to get to 41% is a lot better than, just randomly picking A or something like that. So 41%. We're going with that without even doing any math on a piece of paper. A good way to do this though is to, look at the question, and before I start talking, go ahead and try to figure it out. So you don't have to, not use a piece of paper or something. Obviously, go ahead and do it. We'll just be talking about the ways that you get to estimation, and then sometimes we actually do have to, use pencil and paper. Also, don't you're just doing yourself no favors if you're using like the calculator on your phone or something like that. Because you can't use a calculator during the ASVAB. What is the estimated product when 620 and 374 are rounded to the nearest hundred and multiplied? Okay, 620 to the nearest hundred is 600. 374 to the nearest hundred is 400. Okay, now same. Now we should be able to figure this out without having to go and write all the math out. So 6 times 4 is 24, and 600 has two zeros, and 400 has two zeros in it. So that's four zeros total, and then we just add them to 24. So 24 followed by four zeros is 240,000. And that will be the right answer there. So that's how you do those. Like when you're multiplying hundreds or thousands together, much better to just add up all the zeros and then just stick them on the end. That's going to get you the right answer and save you a lot of time too, which may matter like if there's questions that you struggle with, which there probably will be. then having got through these other questions a lot faster gives you some more time, so you're not rushed. Okay, a patient doesn't receive treatment for a certain injury within 2 hours after the injury. Patient's chance of survival starts decreasing by 15% each hour. If no treatment has been given within 4 hours after injury, what chance of survival will the patient have? Okay, so what you want to think first is that 70% is definitely not right. Okay, so that's our temptation, is that you start off with a 100% chance. First 2 hours, nothing. They say nothing about the chance, and then we're dropping by 15% each hour. So right after hour 3, we've dropped down to 85%. 100 minus 15 is 85. And then we're thinking after hour 4, another 15, and that's 70. Okay, so what really happens though is after hour 3, we drop down to 85%, and now it's 15% times that 85%. So 0.15 times 0.85 is what will happen, and that will get us to somewhere around that 72% mark, right? And so that's how you go about doing that, that type of problem. William is from England visiting the US. On this trip, he visits Texas, notices it's very hot. He looks at the thermometer and it reads 95 degrees Fahrenheit. William wants to know what this converts to in Celsius, and then they give us the Celsius equation, which is C equals F minus 32 divided by 1.8. Okay, so we'll plug that 95 in. So 95 minus 32, so that's 63 divided by 1.8. So, I mean, nobody can do 63 divided by 1.8 in their head. Or if you can, then you certainly don't have to study for this test because you're incredible at math. But 63 divided by 2 is easier, right? And just thinking whatever that is, as our answer will be a little bit higher when we actually divide it by 1.8. So this is another thing with estimation, but also with helping us to eliminate answers. Okay, so 63 divided by 2 is 31.5. Okay, so we know the answer is going to be a little bit higher than 31.5. So which answer do you think that probably is? Right, probably 35. But we should definitely be able to eliminate 30 because we know it's going to be, the answer is going to be higher than 31.5. And also certainly at least be able to eliminate like 50 and probably 45 as well. So that's usually our goal. So, I mean, you could say 35, and if you're really unsure, maybe 40. So if you do the math, it's going to come out to that one. Right, but kind of seeing like, if we were really good at doing this estimation process, we could get there really without having to do the math, which is always nice. Okay, student scores 74, 87, 68, 63, 76 on his last 5 exams. His teacher will drop the lowest grade to compute the student's average. What is the average in the class? Okay, so the lowest one here is 63. So if we add up the other 4, 74, 87, 68, and 76, we get to 305. And 305 divided by 4 is about 76. Okay, so this is one where you probably just have to do the math, right? Where you just add those 4 up, divide by 4, and see what you get. 76.3. 2 1/4 plus 6 3/8. Okay, so this is a common denominator question. So what I need is for the denominators, the bottom number in those fractions, to be the same for both of these, right? And so what we do is with that 2 1/4 is multiply the numerator, the top number, and the denominator by 2 so that it becomes 2 2/8. Now I can add them together, right? 2 plus 6 is 8. 2/8 plus 3/8 is 5/8, right? When we're adding fractions, if the denominator is the same there on the bottom, then it just stays the same, so it stays as an 8, and the top ones we add together. So that gets us to 8 5/8. Sorry, email update coming there on the top of the screen. Moving on. Okay, map question. World map has a scale of 1/4 of an inch. equals 250 miles. You measure the distance between New York and LA and it equals 3 inches. What is the real distance between New York and LA? Okay, so first we want to find out how much is it for to get to an actual inch, right? And then from there we'll find 3 inches. So 1/4 of an inch, so if we want to find an inch, then I have to multiply it 1/4 times 4 equals 1, right? 1/4 times 4 over 1 equals 4 over 4, that's 1 inch. And then 250 times 4 is 1,000. So 1 inch on this map represents 1,000 miles. Now if I want 3 inches, 1 times 3 is 3, and then the same to the miles. 1,000 times 3, 3,000. Boom. There's that one. Got 1,000 dogs, 72% are male. Among the males, 3 out of 5 were over the age of 5. How many of the dogs were males over the age of 5? Okay, so this one's like an extra little step, but pretty similar to one of the first ones that we did where we multiplied numbers together. Okay, so 1,000 dogs, 72% are male. A lot of times we gotta go slow and take it one sentence at a time. So that should mean to me that 1,000 times 0.72, which is 72%, equals 720 dogs that are male. And then it says 3 out of 5 were over the age of 5. So if I go 720 over 1 times 3 out of 5, that will give me the correct answer. Another way to do it, the way that I would do it, but you get the same answer either way, is just to know that 3 out of 5 is 60%, or 0.6. And then if I go 720 times 0.6, that will also give me the correct answer, which is 432. Okay, we got 78 female, 54 male patrons at a local diner. What percentage of the diner's patrons are female? Okay, so I'm going 78 plus 54 is 132. Okay, so that's my first thing. So that's the total number, and there's 78 females. Okay, so before I go and calculate that, right, because it's going to take me a little bit of time to get that, and then I might make a mistake or something. 78 over 132. So we've got 3 answers here. One is barely above 50%, 52%, and 2 that are significantly below 50. So what is half of 132? So that number would be exactly 66, right? But even if you just knew that it was somewhere in the 60s, right, that would be enough. Like 65 over 130 is exactly 50%. Okay, so that should kind of tell us right now we can eliminate 3 of those answers, right, before I even do the math, right? And whether it's 59 or 67, that might be a little bit harder to tell. And then you actually have to do the math to get that, and when we do that, we'll get 59%. You know, another way that you can do that, so we know the total is 132, right? Okay, so if I went 132 times 0.6, and I did that, that won't give me exactly 78 because the actual number is 59%, but that'll get me close enough where I can be absolutely sure that it's 59 without having to do anything else. Much easier than going through the process of dividing 78 by 132. Okay, we're halfway done. This is question 11. A new cancer treatment provides 50% success rate for patients with lung tumors. Lung tumors make up 10% of all cancer patients. What percent of all cancer patients will this new drug work on? Okay, so this is just kind of should be a sign to us that this thing where we get like a couple of percentages and knowing that we got to multiply them together is something we really have to be familiar with just because it shows up so much. So the way you do this is it's either 0.5 times 0.1 equals 0.05, which is 5%, which is going to be our answer. If you like fractions better, then just do 50% equals 5/10 times 10% is 1/10. Multiply them together and we get 5 over 100, also 5%. Okay, a person who has a heart attack can be saved 90% of the time if a defibrillator is used within 5 minutes of the heart attack. Of the people that have heart attacks, defibrillators are within the vicinity 40% of the time. However, they are only used 60% of the time, even when they are in the surrounding area. How many people who suffer a heart attack are saved because of the use of a defibrillator? Okay, so it's not that different from what we just did, although they word it kind of weird in a way that I don't really like. Just look, but every once in a while you get a question where they're really trying to confuse you. If we see like 3 percentages, and then it's like how many people, whatever, question at the end, it means they want us to multiply them all together. Okay, so 0.9 times 0.4 is 0.36. And then 0.36 times 0.6 is 0.216. Okay, so 21.6%, which is pretty close to 22. And that's our answer. But that's a big one there. Like, you get 3 percentages, and you're sort of like, what in the world are they asking me? Like, and if you just have no idea what to do with the question, really good chance what they're asking is just to multiply all 3 of them together, right? So you multiply the first 2 together, you get an answer, and then that answer times the third percentage, and that's what you're working with. So probably the hardest question that I've seen here so far, and probably about as hard of a question as you're going to see in arithmetic reasoning. Paint company mixes its paint with water to create more paint per gallon. They currently have 10-gallon jugs which contain 10% water. How much water must they add to create an 80-20 mix of paint to water? Okay, this one's kind of hard too. So, I think a lot of times for people on the ASVAB is they see something like this and they just sort of just give up, like let's move on to something easier and sort of randomly hit something. So, really what you're going to be forced to do here is some kind of form of guess and check. So right now, there are 9 gallons of paint and 1 gallon of water, right? And that's a 10% ratio for water to total. And they're trying to get to 80-20. So really what you're going to have to do is do some guess and check here. Like that's going to be the easiest way to go about solving this, right? So if they add 1 gallon of water, right, then you'd have 2 gallons total of water, right? One that we already had, and now you've added one more, and then you've added another gallon to the total. So now you have 2 over 11. Okay, so we probably know that 2 over 11 is not equal to 20%. But 2 over 10 is 20%. The next one gets us to 2.25 over 11.25. Yeah, right. 1.25 plus 1 is 2.25. And then you also added the 1.25 to the total, and it ends up that 2.25 divided by 11.25 is 20%. But again, given the no calculator, this is a pretty hard question, but that's how you go about it. Let's just really go right down the list. Something like that, if you're in the pencil and paper type test, is I would skip that and come back to it at the end. Just because it's a harder question. You want to make sure you don't give up on like some of the easier ones for a harder one. If it's the computer adaptive test, then you got to go through it. Okay, let's see here. A mail carrier can deliver mail to 1,400 different homes in one day. In the city of Utopia, there's 52,800 residents. How many mail carriers must be hired to deliver mail to all the residents of Utopia each day? Okay, so you have each mail carrier 1,400. You got 52,800 people. So on something like that, that just means you got to divide these two numbers into each other, right? So this one does require actual doing the math. I don't see an obvious way to estimate this number. I mean, you can like round to 53,000 and 1,400, leave that basically the same. So as you're doing that though, like to save yourself some time, again, get rid of those zeros, right? So we can get rid of that and that. So then we just have a 14, and we can get rid of the 2 zeros here. We just have a 528, right? And so then that's a little bit easier on the division. So anyway, when you go through that, I think you'll get 38. $15. Okay, we got 20 questions total. We're almost there. How much change will you get back from a $100 bill if you purchased 8 DVDs for $6.49 each? So what you're looking at there is it's got 8 DVDs, 8 times 6.49. And if you do that, so 8 times 6 is 48, right? And 0.49 times 8 is another few bucks. And so that will get you to 48.08. Right? Should, like, as you're thinking about that though, okay, so 8 DVDs, $6.49 each. Right? So if you're thinking 8 times 6 is 48, okay, and then you're gonna, so even if you just did that, say it was only $6 each, 8 times 6 is 48, then you would get $52 back, right? And so we know it's less than that, right? There's 51.92, but we should be somewhere in the range of like this $50 number, right? So at a minimum, you should be able to answer the first one, the last one. These ones are nowhere close to $50, right? And then doing the math gets it obvious that you're actually at this one, but same thing. If you're rushed for time, and you know you're almost out of time, you got to go quick, is at least eliminate these two and then guess at those. Fencing costs $1.50 per picket, sorry. 2 pickets per foot. Post costs $13.75 per post. How much will it cost to fence a yard if 10 posts and 64 feet of pickets are needed? Okay. So let's take our time with this one, right? Is that they're giving you a bunch of info and you're just having to kind of connect the dots. So we start off with the first thing they ask for, which is 10 posts. Okay. So how much are 10 posts going to cost us? Right. We read in the third sentence here, posts cost $13.75 each. Okay. So 13.75 times 10 gets us $137.50, and that's how much we're going to pay for our posts. Okay, the other one is it says 64 feet of pickets are used, right? Okay, 46 feet of pickets. We can see that fencing costs $1.50 per picket, and it's 2 pickets per foot. Okay, so we got 46 feet here, 2 pickets per foot, right? So that means 46 times 2, which is 92. 46 times 2, 92. 92 pickets. 92 pickets costing $1.50 each. That gets us to 138 when we multiply those together, right? And then you have to add our two numbers together, right? So with 10 posts, it was $137.50. The 46 feet totals 138. Put it together, 275.50. Tricky one, right? But if you take your time with it, none of that math is really all that hard. It's just reading it, and like if you're not used to those type of questions, you probably got to read it a couple of times, and you're good to go. Okay. Lewis ran a race in 2.4 minutes. Laura ran the same race in 124 seconds. What is the difference between the two times? Okay, so what they're asking you to do is to put 2.4 minutes into seconds. Okay, so how many seconds are in 2.4 minutes? Okay, so let's just focus, like the 2 minutes equals 120 seconds, right? There's 60 seconds in a minute. 60 times 2 is 120. So really we just want to focus on that 0.4. So 0.4 is the same as 4 out of 10, right? So we're going to set up a little equation. This is the easiest way to do it. 4 out of 10 equals some number we don't know over 60, right? The reason we chose 60 is 60 seconds in a minute, right? We're at 0.4 minutes. Okay, so 4 over 10 equals x over 60. And if we cross multiply these, 10x equals 240. Divide each side by 10. X equals 24. What is that 24? 24 seconds. Okay, so we knew that 2 minutes was 120 seconds. Then we add on 24 seconds to that. So we got 144 seconds for Lewis in his race. Laura was 124 seconds, right? So 144 minus 124, 20 seconds. That'll be our difference. Okay. A grocery store has a special on sodas. 3 12-packs for $9. How much does 5 12-packs of soda cost? Okay, so this one's worded a little bit weird in that because it was 3 12-packs for 9 is, you might think that means like you have to go in packages of 3 12-packs, which would mean it would make you kind of think that it was 6 12-packs for $18. But what they're really trying to get you to understand is that it's $3 for each 12-pack. And so that's 15. Certainly understandable if you went with 18, but 12 or 9 should definitely not be the answer, right? Just knowing like it was 3 12-packs for $9. There's no way it's 5 12-packs for the same amount of money, unless it was like get the next 2 free or some version of that. So anyway, 15, pretty sure is going to be the answer they want. Family of 4 have dinner bill for $44. 15% tip is added after an 8% tax is added to the amount. How much is the tip? Okay, so you're going to add, they're saying we're going to add tax to the $44 first and then the 15%. Okay, so 44 times 0.08, is like, so that's going to be somewhere around $4. So where did I come up with that? So usually I'm going to still go back to estimating first and then doing the math second. If you want to just go right into the math, then it's 44 times 0.08. And then that number times 0.15. But, 40, like if it was $40 and 10%, that would be exactly $4. So it's a couple dollars more, percentage is a little bit less. It's in the range of 4. Okay. And so that means that $4 is added onto the 44, which gets us to 48. 48 times 0.15 should get us so that we're like a little bit over 7. But again, like on this one, you probably need to do the math, right? These numbers are too close together, like 671, 660, 713, really close together. Should definitely be able to eliminate the 405 though, right? In that, like that was, probably the number like just after the tax, right? But after the tip, we know it's definitely more than that 4. So I'm going with 713 on this one without doing the math on a piece of paper. I think that will be right. But anyway, you need to do the math here because these 3 numbers are fairly close together. All right, last one here. Jane takes out a loan for $100,000 over 10 years and agrees to pay interest only at an annual rate of 8%. What will her monthly payment be? Okay, so 8% of 100,000. So it's 100,000 times 0.08 or $8,000, right? But that's what she's going to pay annually, right? Per year, right? And right there you can see that last answer of 8,000. So they're trying to trick you with that. If it says what was her annual payment, 8,000 would be correct, right? But now we have, how many months are there in a year? 12. How for the year it's 8,000. If they're even payments, which it looks like it is, then it's at 8,000 divided by 12, and that should get us to the 666.67 number right there. Okay, so we answered all of them. Let's see what happened. Oh, got them all, 100%. Okay, so if you guys have questions on how I was thinking about this or how I did it, please go ahead and respond to me. I'm more than happy to get back to you guys with any of your questions. And besides that, good luck with your studying with the ASVAB. and we will look at doing a math knowledge one in the near future.